Representative Brian Harrison's coming back on, and until further notice, if you hear him, just hear, what'd they do this time? Brian Harrison, welcome back on. I just had you on last week, and I should have had you on for a whole hour.
James, it is great to be back on with you, my friend. And yeah, the news I have is shocking, but it's just because of the shocking levels of betrayal here in the Capitol. But you know what? Texans need to be informed, because I'm one of these old-fashioned elected officials that believe Texans, not only can they handle the truth, they deserve the truth.
All right, to start off, for people who aren't familiar, he is the Texas State Representative from the district that's just south of Jasmine Crockett's district. She's on top of you, and you're down there, Midlothian. What is that, like Duncanville, DeSoto, kind of?
Do you really have to associate me with her? But yes, I am just south of Jasmine Crockett's district. Jasmine Crockett, who, by the way, should resign in dishonor because she pushed a bill, your listeners may not know this, to try and strip Donald Trump of his Secret Service detail just days before the assassin shot him. She should resign in disgrace.
Yikes. Okay. Hot sports opinion right there. Tell me about the just rank duplicity of the Texas DOGE.
It's amazing. I had the real honor of serving under President Trump in his first term, and I was the chief of staff of his agency, the HHS, that delivered over half of the deregulatory savings in his first term. So Texans, they deserve deregulation. They understand that letting bureaucrats write and enforce laws and spend money without accountability, I mean, that's the definition of tyranny. And President Trump and Elon Musk, I mean, they're taking a wrecking ball to the regulatory state that threatens our liberty. And unfortunately, what we have here in Texas is we've got a corrupt liberal Texas House leadership that colluded with Democrats to take over the Texas House. But what they're trying to do is everything in their power to fool the voters of Texas, because they think you, the taxpayers, you, the voters, are too stupid to notice that, hey, they're going to grow government, which is going to increase your taxes. So they are doing things like creating fake committees and stealing some of President Trump's credibility by calling a committee a DOGE committee and then telling you we're bringing DOGE to Texas, hoping the Texans will be like, oh, well, these guys are great. They're doing what President Trump is. The problem is they're doing the exact opposite. While Trump is up there working 20-hour days, we've done nothing but take 5- and 6-day vacations for the 1 month of session. We've had no bills, no hearings. And President Trump has done more in 3 weeks to get rid of taxpayer-funded DEI in Texas, but they filed a bill that they telling people is going to get rid of DEI, when in reality it protects DEI and writes it into state law. And DOGE is supposed to shrink government, but they forgot, or they hope you don't notice, that they released a budget that grows government in the state of Texas at a rate that would make D.C. Democrats blush. We're talking 30 to 40% explosion of government in just a 3 or 4 year period. Texans deserve to know that Republicans, who they thought were going to fight the Democrats, have colluded with the Democrats to increase spending, decrease liberty, increase taxes, and I'm going to call it out.
Good. Call it out on my show every time, because I find this more troubling, dishonest Republicans than honest Democrats. We know you send Democrats down there, they're going to grow government. You know that they love all these programs and all these social safety nets and spending money. But the Republicans went and lied to your face, got your vote, and went down there and acted like a Democrat. And I think that's far worse.
No, I've said this a lot of times. If you're dealing with somebody with the word Democrat by their name, I mean, I'm going to disagree with them. But you know what? I don't mind having a disagreement with an honest liberal. What I have no tolerance for, and what I think Texas voters have no tolerance for, is people who call themselves a Republican and run around in primaries and general elections like last year saying, vote for me, I'm a Republican, I will stand up to the radical left that want to indoctrinate the next generation, or vote for me, I will fight the leftist Democrats who are going to raise your property taxes and bankrupt our state. And then at every opportunity, they collude with those Democrats to put the very same Democrats in power and then team up with them to grow government. And every single person on this DOGE committee, I think except for one, every one of them voted to grow government by over 30% last session. This thing is a farce, and Texans deserve to know what's happening in their name. And I'd say if Texans knew the extent to which so-called Republicans were betraying them. I mean, I actually view it as the greatest form of voter fraud, because what's the point of election integrity if elected Republicans just hand Democrats the power that the voters gave to Republicans? It's the greatest example of voter fraud maybe in our nation's history, in the past recent history.
Well, and it's so misinforming to the voters on both sides, because I have a guy here who's a pretty dedicated Team Blue listener, and he said He can cry all he wants. Republicans have run the state for well over a decade. The problems are the one they created. And you're making the point that Republicans have not been in charge. Dade Phelan did not run the House like a Republican. And now what's his Dustin Burrows? He's not running this in the manner of Republicans. So no, the Republicans have not got their say so.
This just broke just now. Dustin Burrows just hired a former Barack Obama White House lawyer to be the top lawyer in the Texas House of Representatives. So a Barack Obama lawyer is controlling the Texas House.
See, yeah, and so it gives you the I can see why people would come away with that impression. Well, we have problems in Texas. You can blame the Republicans. They're always in charge. No, if the Republicans were in charge, we would have school choice by now.
Right. Yep. We would have banned DEI in our K-12 in our public universities. We would have stopped taking taxes from people. Texans are being taxed out of their homes. And for what? So they can pay DEI staff and promote transgender ideology? Yeah, it's happening in a Republican so-called legislature. But what people don't know is there's a lot of people who put the word Republican by their name because they've got to be a Republican to get elected, but they're just as liberal as the Democrats. And when they get power, they literally put those very same Democrats in charge. And I'll give you one other example that I'm breaking news on here. I don't think any media has reported this right now. It just came out within the last hour. Our new speaker, Dustin Burrows, fake liberal RINO speaker, appointed the Speaker Pro Tem, the number 2 person in the Texas House, Speaker Pro Tem, a Democrat member of the House, and just handed him, this is not a joke, breaking news, $94,000 extra for his budget. That's $94,000 he is not giving to Republicans here in the Texas House.
Okay. All right. I told you weren't going to like it, y'all. This is State Rep Brian Harrison, Republican from Midlothian, giving you the bad news. But you need to hear it. So what do we do? Are we just screwed for 2 more years? Or
well, if people can take a few minutes and call their state representative and ask them, not, what are you conservative or not? They're all going to say they are. But ask them specifically, what are you doing to stand up to the liberal, corrupt House leadership that has empowered Democrats? Ask them if they're voting for these obscene 5-day vacation weekends that we've taken every week since we're getting here. And I want to be positive about this. Like, I'm an optimistic person. I love this state. I'm a native Texan. I believe Texas should be leading the entire nation in freedom and individual liberty and low taxes and low regulations. We've got a reputation for that. But because of the corruption in the Texas House, we have just been coasting on that reputation, and we need Republicans to start acting like Republicans. Because let me tell you what, the people who know that the next generation is on the line and there is an actual battle for the future going on, that's the Democrats. And we need Republicans who are in office to fight for the future with the exact same fearlessness that the radical left does. So call your state rep, ask what they're doing to stand up to the corruption in the Texas House so that the state of Texas can once again lead the nation in the defense of liberty.
It's really disappointing, Brian. Can we come up with an S list? I can't say the whole word on radio, but I want a list of people who we need to primary, and I want to shop it around to all my radio and TV friends in Texas and try and get this list out and see if we can take care of this. Because I thought we took care of it in the last election. Dade Phelan's not going to be the speaker anymore, and we primaried some of the RINOs out, but I guess there's still more.
Yeah, and one way, I'm trying to, when I mentioned I worked for President Trump, was honored to do it, and I just assumed when I got elected 3 years ago that every Republican in Texas was fighting as hard for freedom and liberty as those of us that worked for him, and I was surprised. And so one of the things I've tried to do is just ignore the so-called unwritten rules of the Texas House that have governed this corrupt body for too long, which is where you don't ever publicly criticize the House. Well, I said, screw that. The next generation's on the line. So I helped President Trump and Ted Cruz and Ken Paxton and Governor Abbott traveling around the state primarying these liberal fake Republicans, and we knocked several of them off. But clearly we've got a lot more work to do. And so one thing I would encourage people to take advantage of the transparency I'm bringing it, if they can follow me on X, just at Brian E. Harrison, because every single day I tweet live updates from the floor, including vote sheets, because one of the things that I always joke that transparency is like kryptonite in the swamp. So what happens when there's bad votes like this, like when people took a vote to empower Democrats and make them co-chairs of every one of our committees, or voting for long 5-day weekends when we should be dealing with property taxes because Texans are being taxed out of their homes. Not only will I tell folks it happened, but frequently I'll print out a copy from the clerk, get a copy of the vote sheet, I'll take a picture of it and put it online. And that way people can know, hey, did the person that I gave my proxy, my voice, my vote to represent me in the Texas legislature, are they voting the way I want them to vote, or have they bent the knee to the corrupt, fake Republican leadership that is controlled by Democrats? And so that's just the best way I can tell folks is just follow me on X and at Brian E. Harrison and trying to spread the word. And you're doing a great job, James, and we need more people doing like you to expose Texans to what is happening in their name. Because it's not just that it's happening in the name of millions of Texans who believe they voted for bold Republican leadership, but have been sold downriver to the Democrats.
It's a total sellout job. Look, on a lighter note, this is something that's kind of a pet project of mine that one day maybe we'll see it. What do I got to do about buying whiskey on a Sunday?
You know what? I almost tweeted about this over the weekend.
No way. Stop it.
I'm not joking. And in fact, maybe I still will, and I'll send it to you, my friend. We've got to realize at this point in 2025, there are some of our older blue laws that are just a little bit silly. You can't buy, wine at 11:59, but at noon it's okay. I mean, some of these laws are silly, outdated, and quite frankly, I'm a liberty person. I believe in freedom, and I think Texans, especially, we're talking only adults here, but adult Texans, they should really be allowed to choose when they want to buy a bottle of wine on the weekends. If we're honest about it. Right.
If we're supposed to have the right to choose in my body, my choice or whatever, I'm not even asking for the good stuff. It could be the plastic bottle bourbon, just something on a Sunday every once in a while.
Now, you're wanting me to pass a special Boone's Farm law for you here, aren't you? You're going to buy your Boone's Farm.
Hey, don't sell me out that hard. All right, Brian Harrison, thank you very much. I appreciate the insight. Keep us updated, man, because I think you're one of the good ones down there, and I wish there was just more of them.
Oh, you're kind, my friend. Keep doing what you're doing. Expose the truth, bring transparency. Just God bless you, and God bless Texas.
You coming to the Brian Kilmeade event on the 26th?
My staff is trying to make that work. We may have another commitment, but I want to be there. I love you and Brian, so we're trying to see if we can get there and do the other commitment.
I know it's not fair. You're in session during that point, so you may have more important things to do, understandably so, but I just want to put you on the spot. Thank you, sir.